Hello, this is Teresa from Del Posh Jewelry Line and Art. Today we will be painting this. It's an underwater scene. Get a good look at it. Little fish and jellyfish and bubbles. So, here's the underwater scene. So I want to talk about the background a little bit and the colors that we'll be using for the background. This is quite a few colors involved in this, and it's a bit time consuming, but it's really fun and it's a lot of detail. So this is not going to be a short video because there's a lot of little details in this and a lot of multiple colors to use and mix together. So let me start with the background, what we'll be using today. What I have is a Caribbean. We're just talking about the background right now. And I use a little bit of morning blue in bright blue and cobalt blue and of course white. And I put a base coat of white on this before I even start it because it's important to blend the colors. Okay, and the colors I'll be using for the fish and the starfish and the greenery, seaweed and things under the water. Of course, there's going to be some white added to some of these things. There's a lot of colors. Black is all acrylic. And I got aqua green, arbor green. I can't even say this. Legum, Laguna, Laguna. Okay, and then for here, I'm using Tuscan red. That'll be here. And I kind of mix the Tuscan red and the purple together on here too. But here's, and I just mentioned the purple. So it's wild ivory. And bright magenta. The bright magenta to mix in here. And I mixed a tiny little bit into that. You don't need much of these paints. You just need multiple of colors. And for here, we're going to use the sea breeze mixed with some white. And of course, we need some yellow. And I just used a little yellow here. You need very little yellow. And that is bright yellow. And did I use this? Yeah. I used just a little bit of this. This is Golden Sunset. I just mixed a little bit of the Golden Sunset. And I think a little bit of the purple. Yeah. For the starfish. I mean, jellyfish. So let's get started. Okay, we're going to start with white. We're going to cover the whole canvas. Nice and even. This will make the paint just look so much better with a coat on the canvas. So let's start with adding some blue. It'll mix with that white. You want it light on top. And we'll blend those colors together. A swishy motion. It's got a little curve to it. And we're just going to go down and continue to make the painting just a little bit darker, but blend the colors. As we go down, and just continue to get a little bit darker blue. Oh, if you need to mix your colors with a little bit of white, you may do so. We don't want it to be too drastic as we blend the colors. We want the colors to just slowly get a little bit darker. Oh, we have to go over this again, giving it just a little bit more colors, and it should be darker on the outside of the painting, meaning from right to left, and a little lighter in the center. See how I always start from the edges? That way it's thinner and lighter in the center. Well, just continue to go darker and continue to blend. Nice and even. There we go, looking good. Let's just slowly blend the colors together down the painting. There we go. Now, just a little bit darker. Give me just a little bit more white mixed with that. And as I take that color and I go up a little bit, it'll blend and look a little lighter. Now I'm going to do the seafloor. I'm using the very light blue that I started with. I'll fill that in. That looks good. Now we need to blend this painting in layers, so there's different colors showing through. So I'm going to start right here and blend different shades. Very nice. Back and forth. There we go. I think I want that seafloor a little bit bigger. So yeah, I'll come up with the seafloor a little bit. More room to add the greenery. There we go. Now I'm mixing a little white and blue together. And it's really light. It looks like it's white, but it's a little lighter than the blue we got down there. And I'm making these little lines. And it's the light shining through the water. And you can just put these anywhere you want randomly, but give them a curve also. And continue to add these lines on down. That'll be the sun shining through and glistening off the water. Do I need more? Let's see. Yep. Okay, now find yourself a piece of cardboard or a credit card and get a little bit of white on the corner and wipe off the excess. And we're going to just make little lines coming through. It's where the sun's a little bit brighter. And we're just going to take the edge of the card and dab, and just dab it in different spots. We don't need to come all the way down, just around the top. I'll add a little bit more. Like I said, make sure you clean off the edge of that card. You won't get nice smooth lines. And make sure your card doesn't have a curve in it. It's going to be nice and flat. And then I take a dry brush and those lines we just did, and I blend them just slightly, very gently. Okay, I think we want a little bit more light coming down. So let's add a couple more lines. The light coming through. A little bit of more white on the bottom, on the seabed. Now, let's work on adding some greenery. I'm using a thin brush. It's easy to make little lines with. Gonna make little twigs floating around in the water. And I'm using such a light color, but it's darker than the background, and I'm just making little wiggly lines, and it's branches floating in the water. I don't want that to be too dark because it's supposed to be more in the background, so it's fairly light, but it's a little hard to see. And let's make some seaweed. There we go, just the wiggly lines. Seaweed coming off the seabed. Oh, that looks good. I'm using some green to make the seaweed. We're going to make some more greenery under the water. I mixed a little bit of the green and the yellow together. We want different colors of greenery under the water. So I mixed a little bit of white with it. I want a mixture of colors. I don't want anything to be solid green or solid yellow. It just looks nicer. So a little bit more yellow and green mix. Looks more authentic, original, true to life. We'll just continue to add more greenery to the bottom. No particular order, no particular spot. Just some greenery coming off the seafloor. Just making some wiggly lines. And I'm making any greenery I make, I try to make it a different shade, that it's a different kind of greenery under the water. I'll just work on that for a little bit. I'll listen to the music for a minute as I work on the greenery. I love to mix my colors. More greenery. Just continue to add little lines and little branches. Using a thin brush and very little paint. There's paint on the very tip of the brush. That's why I gotta constantly keep adding more paint to the tip of my brush. I don't want any globs of paint on the painting. And I'm adding a little bit of yellow to the seaweed I did. Switching brushes. This is a very small tip. It's square, but it's very little on the end. And I'm going to make a little different kind of greenery here. Starting off with some yellow. But I mixed just the tiniest little green with that. I'm going to make it a little bit darker, add a little green and yellow together, but it's a little bit darker green as I make more leaves on the same plant. Just little lines. Now we're going to make something more towards the center. It's kind of like a little pink plant. I don't even know what it is. I'm just being creative. And And I mixed a little bit of the pink and the white. Blend the colors, different shades, adding a little bit darker pink to the edge of the leaves and a little bit of white down the center. Now just tiny little dabs of black on the tip. There we go. I think I'll add just a little bit more white. I don't want to blend it too much. Just want to have different shades. Okay, switching brushes again. This one has a fine tip, short bristle, and it's got a point. And we're going to make branches under the water. And just start making wiggly lines. And you might have to fill them in to make them look a little bit darker. Just keep adding more paint. Get that just the way I want it. And of course, I'm doing this again. I like to blend different colors. I don't want anything to be solid burgundy or solid pink. So I started with the burgundy color. It's kind of like a maroon. And I mixed a little bit of the pink with it, so it's got different shading of the branch. And that's depending on how light hits it. There's different shadings. Sometimes one side of the branch is a little bit darker than the other side. Continue mixing colors. And we'll add some more branches. As I continue to add the branches, so I'll just be silent for a minute and let the music play. And continue to add, and branches coming off branches, laying on the seafloor. And I have it going off the edge of the painting. It gives the illusion that there's more below. There you go. And I'm just taking a little lighter color through there to blend different shades in there, like I was saying earlier. I don't want it solid color. Very nice. Do the same on this side. Switch my brush up again. Oh, it's got a short tip. Very small. And it's square on the end. Now we're going to make a starfish. There should be 5 tips of the starfish. So I'm going to make my starfish orange in color. I'm making some of my points bigger than the other, so I'm working on that. There we go. Such tiny little things that we are painting on this painting calls for very small, delicate brushes. Switching up again. This one is thin and skinny. I need a point on the end of my brush. So I'm adding little white dots to the starfish. Just using white titanium white. Dot, dot, dot. A little bit more. Just put little dots. And clean off the excess. I don't want too much on the tip of my brush, because I'm making such small little tiny dots. There we go. Now we're going to continue to add some more greenery to the bottom coming off the seafloor. We're just making some little wiggly lines. And each little branch or leaf or greenery I add, I'm going to make each one its own little color. So this one I'm making a little bit lighter and mixing green and white. Switching brushes again. This is small and square. Used this one earlier. And I'm just going to make little dab marks. And this is going to be the leaves. I'm just taking that brush and going down the leaf and a little bit more color. More branches. Adding leaves. There we go. I want a mixture of colors again. Like I said earlier, I never have anything completely a solid color. Well, just dabbing the brush, making little leaves. Dab, 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 dab. There we go. Same thing on this. Now we're going to make some shrub coming off from behind the branch here, and I'm going to make this more of, say, like a burgundy, reddish brown. Just making little lines. This is going to be really small. Tiny little lines come together. There we go. Itty bitty little lines. And you can put this anywhere you want on the canvas. Add as much greenery as you'd like. Switching brushes again. I need a point. It's very thin, but it's got a nice little point on the end of it. I'm getting a little bit of white. Make sure I wipe off the excess. And just like we did the starfish, I'm going to put little white dots on this as well. Just dot, 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 dot with the very tip of the brush. Switching brushes again. You see that's got a square end and it's really small. Again, using a lot of the small little brushes. So we're going to mix some colors together. And a little bit of white. Just a little bit of that tan color and a little bit of pink. You see that color there? And now we're going to do some jellyfish. So make like a half circle for your jellyfish. Very small. And we don't want these completely solid because they're supposed to be transparent anyways. Oh, we got us 2 half circles. Now I'm going to make some little wiggly lines coming off our jellyfish. I guess you call those tentacles. But I made some a little wider, and then this brush I just switched to is got a thin, long tip, and I want to make some thinner tentacles coming off the jellyfish. So thicker lines and some thinner lines. There we go. Jellyfish. Oh, switching brushes again. It's a very small, tiny, squared off tip of the brush. Now we're going to make some fish swimming in the water. And in order to make these fish, you just make them shaped like an eye. And on the very tip of the end of the fish, just make a V shape. Just make it a little bit wider. And then you're going to make a little fin, tiny little fin coming off the bottom of the fish, and a tiny fin coming off the top of the fish. I'm sorry for blocking your view. And the closer the fish is, the bigger I'm going to make it, and the darker I'm going to make it. Oh, add some more fish. I'm just going to continue to add bigger or smaller fish, but the smaller fish is going to be closer to the sun shining into the water, and I'm going to make that a little bit lighter as I go up to make it seem like it's farther away. And as I come down the painting and add a fish, I make it a little bit darker and bigger to make it look like it's closer to your vision. Like it's just a closer fish to you, so it should be bigger and darker. So I'm just going to continue to work on these little fish, and we'll listen to the music. I'm checking my brush and mixing the painting because I'm making sure that the colors are darker, like I said, if the fish is closer to me. So I don't want it too drastic of a different color from the other fish. Just a little shade darker as it's closer to me. This is a really fun painting. It takes a while to do all these little details, but be patient with yourself. Switching my brush again. Very thin and fine brush. And I want to make sure the bristles are completely straight so I can give you a nice line. Now I took white and I'm just dabbing lightly on the painting. Just dot, 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 dot. Tiny little dots, and this will make like it's got bubbles coming off the seafloor. So just white. Not too much on your brush. Clean off the excess. And just tap, tap, tap at the very tip of that paintbrush. And of course there's bubbles coming off the fish. Add as many bubbles as you like. It's probably the most fun part of this painting, is adding the bubbles. There we go. Now somehow I didn't hit record when I was making these little fish down below, but they're the same shape as the other ones, shaped like an eye, a V shape at the for the tail, and then a little fin coming off the bottom, a little fin coming off the top. And right now I'm just adding little black lines and little white lines on these little fish, and these fish are orange. I mixed orange and white together to do the center, and then like I said, I gave them little black and white lines and took the point of that very thin long paintbrush and made also little black eyes. And when I get this fish all done, I'm going to trace it with a little bit of orange to make it stand out a little bit more, and also cover up any of my mistakes that I took the lines over too long. Like when I made a black line, I took it over the fish just a little bit too far, so I just trace it out with some orange to cover up my mistakes. Put as many fish in as you like. There I am outlining the fish with that orange and making that a little bit darker than the inside of the fish. Very nice. This is just coming along great. Okay, what do you think? If you like it, please give me a thumbs up. Isn't it beautiful? I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you for watching.